Good afternoon. It is August 20th, 2021, and today we had a pretty large move up, and we did have, sorry that my chart's messy. I'll delete this stuff as we go, but I wanted to keep this like little analysis and stuff going, and these measured legs. But we got a break. We had one leg of correction, and we had our second leg of correction, which is leading into our when you get a break of a channel, you get two legs up to a new high, or at least an attempt to a new high. And so we just got that reversal pattern that started our second leg. So we'll go through this. I don't think it'll take too long. I do want to talk a lot over here though. So anyway, price is coming down in the overnight. There's actually a trade I took right here, second entry. This was yesterday, but I set my chart up the night before because just West Coast time. It's just I like to get up and just get to the chart. And if you're in here at 5 a.m., you don't feel like setting it up. So first entry, second entry right here, but and then you get a lower high. But anyway, this is way before 5 a.m. So 5 a.m. comes and you get an awesome reversal pattern. So look, we're clearly in this channel down, and we get a break, or no, an overshoot, excuse me, that leads to a break, okay, which leads to some congestion. We make this new low, and you get a first entry, failed second entry short. This, yeah, let me zoom in. And by the way, I drew that trend line. So it looked like it was near the trend line. This looks like first entry, second entry. It looked like this might have been the beginning of the failure, but it didn't tick lower, and I was like, all right, just telling myself be patient. And yeah, so we got a tick lower here, and that's the failed second entry short, and that's also a reversal pattern. So if you just move your stop one tick beneath each bar, you would have had a 10-point runner. Unfortunately for me, my son had just gotten up. I didn't even get filled on my first target. I had to walk away. I just moved my runner to 3 points. So, yeah, unfortunately, I would have had a 10-point runner, but, that's not. First of all, that's not something you can control. 87.75 to about 98.775. Wow, so 11 points. Also, when, a couple years from now when I'm doing this full time, I'm probably not going to be in the house doing it. So that won't be a problem. This was just a simulator. And since I got that and I got the trade from yesterday afternoon on this bar right here, I was like, all right, this has been my first profitable week in a while, so let's walk away. And I didn't take any other trades this morning. So yeah, you get a first entry, and then you get another failure right here, but that's too far from the EMA there. And you get a first entry. Here, let me take these crosshairs off. First entry, that's not a new high. Second entry right here. So you could have gone long here, and that's probably where this should be, this arrow should be, but we just form some congestion. So when this makes a high or low, I like that. I like that, but yeah. So first entry, failed second entry short, too far from the EMA. We also just had a break of that channel. So I don't think you can go long there. But it is clear that we're in an uptrend, so you might want to be aggressive. First entry, second entry, and I would go long above that, but once we get this bar and it ticks lower, I would still probably be trying to go long, but then we get this bar, and that's 4 bars stacked up, so you might have some hesitations, especially since that's going into the highs of the day. So that's aggressive. First entry, failed second entry, too far from the EMA. First entry, second entry. I don't know why I put this box here. I think that's especially at this point, it's above the EMA and everything's working out. Overshoot leads to a break. Excuse me. First entry, second entry. So this is below the EMA. So you have to be aware of that. This is tough. It's clearly a second entry, but it's below the EMA. And I think, you know what? Since it bounces right off that midline, I think you can probably take that. But then we have an instance here. And we'll talk about that. But we have an instance there of a second entry not working. So, you know, how do you know? But you know what I will say? We have this first leg down and this second leg down. And that is a close outside of that channel and a move to a new low. So that's I'm glad I noticed that. That is definitely very important. First entry, failed second entry short. And yeah, that works out. That's a higher low, but also a second entry long above the EMA. Plenty of opportunities to make money here, guys. First entry, second entry. So this is also tempting because it looks like that's an overshoot, but I think that if you draw the trend line, combined with this being, and it gaps up, so that looks like a nice trap. I didn't notice that until now. It gaps up, so it's got all these people chasing the long. First entry, failed second entry long, but at this point you definitely don't want to be going short. So that is a failed second entry long, but you don't want to be going short. So it's an inside bar as well. That's something to consider. Whereas this one is, if this ticked one tick higher, it would have been an engulfing bar. But yeah, this is an inside bar and yeah, below the EMA, and we're in this channel, this downward channel. So really, I think maybe I would have had it drawn like that at that point. Yeah. So anyway, now we have just some congestion underneath the EMA, and I think this is technically a second entry long. If you see it ticks one tick higher, first entry, second entry. But I'm not sure. This looks like we're getting lower highs and lower lows, so I don't like that. So within this range that I had drawn, it looked like the midline started to hold prices too. So we make this high, test it once. I think this is actually one tick lower, but it looks like a test of that high. And then we test it again, and I like that entry. I was watching it. Again, I didn't take any entries from here on out, but I marked that once the bar closed, and it did work out because we got a break of this channel. This is clearly, to me, this looked like it was clearly a channel up. You see, you can just see it, and we get a break, move to a new high, and that's what I liked. And then here, this is a first failed second entry short, and I like that too. So, yeah, I do like both of these. Obviously, we've been in an uptrend all day. Another thing is this is close to the trend line, this right here. So if you have your trend line just slightly off, maybe this is bouncing off the trend line. But here, this kind of confirmed the midline, so I do think that this trend line was accurate. But yeah, that's why I like that trade. And then here, so we break out of this congestive area into the upper half of the channel, and we make one leg down, and then we form this congestion. And I was looking, I was like, oh, if I'm playing this, which I wasn't, this right here looks like a first, boom, failed second entry short. But look, it's a perfect trap. And I want to, here, let me delete that now that we've seen it. It looks like we've only had one leg down, okay? Me personally, I've been coming in early on longs lately. And so that's something that I need to think about personally. And yeah, so it's a first entry long. I was looking for a failure, but I think since we made this new high, and this was actually a tick higher than this, maybe you don't want to be looking for failures. And this congestion, oh, that's another thing I thought about. And I really like this thought, is that this congestion makes this look like a double bottom. So I was looking at this as a failed second entry short, but I think this, boom, right here, this should be viewed as a double bottom, which resets the count. Yeah, it is off the trend line, but I don't know. And this looks like maybe it might be a channel because this midline looks like it's holding prices. So that's what I came up with. But we do get a second entry long here, and that creates this leg up. And the reason I like this here, I'm going to delete these legs, but we made two measured legs up before forming some congestion. Yeah, it's a second entry long, but I also like this because it's an engulfing bar and it's off the lows of the range I had drawn. So that's what I like about that. First entry, failed second entry, short, and this is the failed second entry, so we make a matching low. But that's going into the highs, there's congestion, and it is off the trend line, but I don't know. If you're feeling super aggressive, maybe you would take that. Look how far it is from the EMA, though. But I did feel like, so, you know, we got a break of the big daily long-term channel here, and we got a leg of correction, and then we get one leg up. And in case, I think I'm starting to get a grasp of this. The reason I'm not looking at this as two legs is because look how the trend line fits off of the lows of these bars in particular. And that to me looked like a sign that this was this could be counted as one leg up. So we got our first leg of correction, then we have our second leg of correction here. So we make this new high, break this channel, get a lower high, and then we start going into this tighter short-term channel. And this looks like a first entry, failed second entry long. We don't get a new high. So that's very aggressive, but it is off of this short-term trend line. And another thing is you always want to be actively charting and drawing these charts. So if you have this drawn and you see we're breaking lower, you would want to, if you have this as your lows, this midline, you would want to click this measured move button, and that would show you the bottom being right here. And then you want to measure, okay, well, I have room to scalp out to those lows. And for this entry, you would. This entry, which is the true failed second, or the true failed second entry long, well, really, this is the failure, as we can see after the fact. But if you're just looking for the new highs, this is technically the failed second entry long. You don't have room to go into those lows, 3150 to 3050. You know, that's 4 ticks, and that's what it ended up being, is a 4-tick failure. So just keep an eye out for that stuff. We come like 1 or 2 ticks short of a measured leg down here. And yeah, just I said that so I could get myself, get those measured moves off. I'm going to delete this short-term channel. We get a first entry. This looks like a second entry, but the signal bar is no good. Second entry short. Here we get a first entry, failed second entry. Oh wait, no, that's not a failed second entry because it's a new low. First entry, failed second entry long right here. I did like that. It's off the EMA. Again, this looks a little congestive, but this is the only doji in here, and there's some pretty good, it looked to me like pretty good price rejection. So we get this failure. I like this. I put the arrow there as soon as this bar formed. Let me drag this up a little bit. And again, you got to measure How much space do I have to the lows? 2950. I like that. Yep, 2950. You got room to scalp out, and you do. You get a couple. I think you get like 6 or 7 ticks. So that works out. And if you're playing this like congestion, you might want to take this. I wouldn't have taken it just because it looks like the short-term bias is down. Even though I was expecting a second leg up, I didn't take this, and I was waiting for a failure here. First entry, and I was waiting for a reversal, especially when we come up short of that measured move and the bottom of this trend line. We get a first entry, and then we started to make this big leg up, and so I just walked away from my computer. I was like, I'm not trying to watch anymore. But when you get this failure off the trend line, this thing gapped up, probably moved up very fast. I'm going to take that personally. It is far from the EMA, so it's aggressive, but I've been spotting these failures, and it feels really good. So, yeah, I would definitely take that. Looks like we got another first failed second entry here. I'm not going to take that. That's even further from the EMA. But yeah, so with that being said, we'll take a look at my 2 trades. I'm very glad I was profitable this whole week. And one thing I just want to say is, like, for a while I was studying the charts. Mack in the manual says at the beginning, just take everything you see that you think is right and just study it and see why it's wrong. I did that, but then I started to do it again like 11 months into my journey, and I think that's I think you want to, after you do it for the first few months, I think you want to stop, and then you want to try and be more conservative. For some reason, I started doing it a couple months ago again, just taking everything, and it just wasn't working out. My simulated account was going way down. So 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know what? No, let's move back to being conservative. And last week, I struggled a little with behavior, but I still did better. And this week, I did really well. We had some volatility that helped that, but I really do think I'm seeing it better. Also, this week, I was able to, and some of last week, but mostly this week, I was able to just sit down at the chart. My kid's at daycare, my wife's at work, and I was just able to sit here. And I can't stress enough how much that helped me see things. And that's just 1 week. So I strongly encourage anybody who can figure out some way to do that to do so, because I really can't even begin to describe how much I feel like I've developed in this week alone. But starting next week, it's going to change because I got to go back to work. So, but anyway. So, yeah, this is just the second entry, short, off the trend line. The reason I felt confident in this trend line is because it just looks like the midline is working. Even though we make this high, it just felt like you just got to be able to see it, I guess. And we get a strong engulfing bar, and so I went 1 tick below this bar, and yeah, got filled. And you would have had a bigger move. You could have entered here too, but yeah, I actually didn't. Yeah, I didn't get a runner on this, unfortunately, because you see, get a big move down. But yeah, very basic second entry short. So this one's a little more advanced, but I see the overshoot that led to a break. And yeah, I spotted the reversal. There's a trend line being formed here. I really like that. And we get a bounce off that. First entry, failed second entry short, engulfing bar. And yeah, it's above the EMA. So that's a great move. And like I said, I would have had a 10-point runner if I didn't have to go get my son who had just woken up. But I think that's another reason too. Today I was like, all right, don't take another trade, is because like I could feel that affecting my mentality. Oh, I would have had a 10-point runner. Instead, I only had a 3-point runner. and you just start dreaming, and you start thinking about, oh, how much you could have made, and oh, if I just take this one trade. And there's no doubt in my mind that I would have ended up profitable today, because all the ones I was marking were working out. I think I would have gotten trapped here, but I think that was it, unless I'm not remembering something. But yeah, that was really it. So I think I'm getting a better feel for it. But today, this week, the market's been, in my opinion, very easy to read. It's one of those personalities. Mack always talks about how the market has like 15 to 20 different personalities. This one was kind of predictable, and we're not always going to get that. So anyways, I hope everyone had a great week filled with winning trades, and if they're losing trades, just study them. So everyone have a great weekend. I'll be back next week.